So I wanted to share a little story on trust and how it has been pretty much like a massive key component to my journey of becoming more of my true self and connecting with my highest self, my soul, my spirit, the universe, just all of it. You could even say fucking God, because it's all connected. But trust has been a huge part of my journey, and as for everyone else, I imagine, because it is so important when we come back to remembering how to trust, what trust is, what trust feels like, and we might not even realize when we're trusting, we might not even realize when we're not trusting, we might not even know what trust is on that energetic frequency, but that moment when we wake up, that moment when we come back to the potent, powerful energy of trust, ooh, baby, it is pure magic, pure magic. And you know what? It's not always pretty. And sometimes we have to really go through these thick, deep, heartbreaking experiences to bring us back into the light of remembering who the fuck we are, coming back to our power, coming back to our love for what we have for ourselves, the love that we have for everything, love and trust. So trust for me, the universe has such a funny way of having me remember trust and coming back to just like letting go of how and when and time and logical thinking, because what is logical thinking anyways when we want to live in a world of magic? And the magic is putting aside the logic. The magic is putting aside the logic. Oh my goodness. It's so true. I've had these moments where I didn't know how the hell I was going to do what I was going to do. But I knew I had to listen. I absolutely knew I had to listen. I knew I needed to go and do these things and be in these places. When my bank account showed me negative is when I was going in the beginning of a divorce, and just like something that like crushed me completely because it needed to happen to wake me up to truth. And so now I'm kind of jumping all over the place with my story, and it probably doesn't sound like that to you, but it does to me. Trust. When I first came back to the realization of what trust was and how to trust, I think it was my first ayahuasca ceremony, and I was in it. I was so in it. I remember sitting there and just feeling like I was just like drifting away into just nothing. I was just lost. I was having a beautiful conversation with one of the facilitators, and as I was sharing what was coming up for me and where I was, and just like you were never broken. You were never broken. But in that moment, in that space of being there, I felt broken. And as I was sharing and as I was in it, she looked at me and she was like, I don't usually say this to people who are where you are right now. But I'm getting feeling that you need to take more. You need to drink more ayahuasca. And it just was like, fuck. You're right, but also at the same time, I just like got so swept over with fear, because it was like, I don't know what happens when I'm taking too many mushrooms in a non-intentional way or non-intentional setting, and didn't know how to process what was coming up for me, and literally thought I was dying. I came to terms with I was going to die. And you know what? Maybe I did. But also, I was just sitting there like, I know it happens. I know it happens. And I say I know it happens, but I didn't know. We think we know these things. so we're like, wait a second, we don't know, but we know. Silly things back and forth of the knowings. But I was just like, okay, I need to go lay on my mat and sit with this. And as I was walking, I was just like fighting with this because part of me knew I needed to go drink more. And part of me was just so scared because I didn't know. It was unknown. It was my first time doing ayahuasca. And I got to my mat and it just hit me. And it was just like, how can I show Aya that I trust her more? Like, it's to drink more. Like, that is me showing up and showing my trust and my belief and my faith in this medicine, in myself. And so I flashed my light and I was terrified in that moment. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I am going to go drink more ayahuasca when I feel like I've already might have taken enough, But in that moment, that's what I was being guided to do. This was what I was meant to do. And this was a moment of learning how to trust. A moment that was showing me what happens when you listen, what happens when you trust. And so I sat down, she looked at me, she said, how much do you want? I was like, I'm not even going to say, just pour it and give it to me, and I'm going to trust the amount that you give me is exactly what I need. She said, all right. And she poured me a cup, drank it, and you know what happened? Peace. Peace washed over me. And as I walked back to my mat, I remembered what it felt like to trust. And that led me into such a beautiful, beautiful opening to like the rest of that night, the rest of that 4 days I sat in ceremony. And, I'm going to do another podcast and video on just my ceremony, but I can say that was my first acknowledgement consciously and connection like with the plant medicine like that, in that way that like changed everything for me. It was the beginning of a remembering of trust. So this kind of went a different way than what I was originally thinking I wanted to share, but since then, man, boy, have I been learning how to trust. I still am. It's a continuing process, but it changes each time, and it just becomes more beautiful and more beautiful and more beautiful. Even when it's so uncomfortable and you have no idea. You have no idea in some moments of like, how am I going to do this? But I know I need to do it, so I'm letting go of my logical thinking and I'm taking it step by step. Listening to my heart, listening to my soul's guidance, and listening to spirit. Trust. The remembering of trust. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so I'm going to keep this one shorter, but how can I trust more is my question for you. How can I trust more each day? And what does trust feel like to me? What does trust feel like to me in my body? And sit with that. Journal on it and just know you are always met with magic. And you are always taken care of. Always taken care of. That's a true belief to start taking in, is I'm always taken care of no matter what. And all these experiences are here to serve me. And so, my friend, I hope that you have such a beautiful rest of your day. And thank you for taking your time and your energy to listen to messages from my heart and guidances from the soul. And listening to a soul's remembrance. This is my first one. Yeah, this is the first. And it gets me so excited because this is me listening. This is me listening and going with it and doing something that I have been guided to do, and that is share my story and share my thoughts and my heart and what the souls want us to remember, what spirit wants us to remember, and what the universe wants us to remember. It is such a beautiful journey, and I'm here for it. I'm fucking here for it. All right. If you don't, subscribe, like, comment, share some experiences you've had with your trust, and I'd love to hear it because it is so beautiful to hear another story of when they remember how to trust or their processes of going through that. So,